Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to these Tuesday noon Organ Plus concerts here at the Church of the Covenant. My name is Jonathan Moyer. I am one of the Associate Directors of Music here at the church, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you here as a part of this very unusual and special presentation today about the pipe organs that reside within our sanctuary. I am currently up inside one. I am standing right now in the top story or the top division of the Newberry organ that resides in the rear gallery of the church. Thanks to technology, we're going to show you today a little bit of the inner workings, the inside organs inside these very, very remarkable and special instruments. So just before we begin, I'm going to show you a little bit around what it looks like inside the Newberry organ. Here I am currently standing outside what we call the Hauptwerk division. I'm going to turn my camera around so you can see some of these pipes. I am currently standing on a walkboard that faces some of the largest and deepest pedal tones within the organ, these enormous pipes. The organ also gives us a wonderful view of the rose window that resides here in the back of the sanctuary. As I bring the camera around, you're going to see a little bit of the lighting mechanism here that illuminates this remarkable window during the evening hours. As I come inside the upper Hauptwerk division, you see all of these glorious pipes of various shapes and sizes, like voices in a choir. Sopranos, altos, tenors, and basses, they all sit upon a remarkable chest of air that supplies them the wind so they can sing. And I am literally facing the inside of the facade, which you would see if you look towards the rear of the sanctuary. And you can see large, small, and glorious pipes. That is my hand. And again, it gives us great pleasure to welcome you to this event. If this is your first time joining us, please consider filling out our visitor survey, in which you can give us your email address, and we can include you on our weekly email newsletter. If you're joining us today for our live stream, please consider visiting our website, covenantweb.org, where you can learn more about events here at the Church of the Covenant that take place on a regular basis. In just a few weeks, we will be having some very important and wonderful events as we enter into the holiday season. On December 3rd, we have this remarkable event that we've had for over 10 years now. It's the Carol Sing that brings together choirs from the Cleveland School of the Arts, along with the Cleveland Guitar Society, our own Covenant Chancel Choir, the handbells, organs, brass, and all of you singing wonderful carols and festive music for this season. So we hope you can join us on December 3rd at 4 p.m. for that wonderful event. On the Sunday prior, during the Thanksgiving weekend, I will be giving a special organ concert on Sunday afternoon, the 26th of November, featuring all music from Johann Sebastian Bach. This concert is presented in collaboration with Rabbi Roger Klein, who comes to us from Temple Tefereth Israel in Beechwood, and we will be presenting this music as a kind of commentary on this remarkable tradition that comes from the pen of Johann Sebastian Bach. So to begin today's program, our music department intern here at the Church of the Covenant, Oziah Wales, is going to play a work here on the Newberry organ by Samuel Scheidt. This is a 17th century German composer and was active in Middle Germany, in Halle, did some very, very important collections of organ music from the Lutheran tradition. And this particular setting features the full compass of the organ, the full range of the mixture pipes, all the way to the deepest bass pipes from the pedal. And while he's playing, you may see also some inside views of the organ and also what he's doing back here to begin our program today. So without any further waiting, let's welcome Oziah and let the music commence. bit unusual as we're making it a little more interactive so we can see inside some of these remarkable instruments that reside here in the sanctuary. And it's a chance for you to learn a little bit more about what an organist does and how the organ actually makes its sound. So we would like, you're welcome to remain where you're seated at the moment, but if you would like to come forward throughout the presentation, we have chairs here. We're going to come up to the console here. I'd like to show you some of the things here. It gives you a chance to see the console of the front organ up close. You just had the chance to see some of the inner workings of this remarkable organ here in the rear of the sanctuary. And I draw your attention to your program here for a moment. On the front page here, you can see this image beneath the text of this kind of favorite poem of mine by Emily Dickinson. The image, kind of the cutout side image of two different organ pipes. These represent two different families of pipes that reside within the organ. The first there on the left, you can see this kind of mechanism that sits down inside this cylinder. This is called a reed pipe. And this whole family of pipes gives us sounds like trumpets, crumhorns, clarions, oboes, clarinets, English horns, all of the many kind of reed instruments that we would find in a modern orchestra. Even instruments that go back to the Renaissance and Baroque eras find their way throughout the course of organ history into this kind of instrument. And the sound of these pipes is produced just like a reed instrument, in that our modern reed instruments have a wooden reed that vibrates within the mouthpiece of a clarinet as you blow through, and it gives us, or an oboe, bassoon. They have these wooden reeds. Within organ pipes, these reeds are made of brass, and they vibrate against this little kind of cylinder that comes down there called a shallot. You see kind of ascending up from that mechanism what looks like a little arm, a little wire. It's kind of curved to the top. This is a tuning wire. And in just a few moments, I'm going to show you one of those up close. Right next to this, you see another pipe that looks kind of in the same style here, but it's hollow in the middle, except for a little horizontal piece there. We call these flue pipes. These are just open cylindrical pipes, like the flue of a chimney. And these really make their sound in the style of a pan pipe, or even just an open flute pipe that you would talk to a flautist today. It is essentially an open tube that is able to resonate various pitch lengths based upon the holes and the mechanisms with the way that they hold the flute itself. On an organ pipe, the pitch is determined on a flue pipe by the length of the pipe. So sometimes we see very long pipes. These would be making very deep tones, and those very small and short pipes would be making very high tones. At the conclusion of our program, we will have a moment for questions and answers. So if you're thinking of anything you'd like to ask or you'd like to learn about today in the program, please make note of your questions. If you'll turn to the third page of your program, I'd like to show you and explain some of these images that you can see here. At the top kind of left-hand corner, you see what looks like a kind of bellow, like you might find in an old-fashioned blacksmith's shop. These were hand-pumped bellows originally to supply wind to the organ. Even today, we have wind bellows and reservoirs within the organ that hold the air. The pipes sing because we supply them the air that is pressurized through these various types of bellows. The top two there are what we call wedge bellows or cuneiform bellows, and those would be operated by means of either a foot or a hand lever. Beneath that, you see a kind of parallel reservoir, a parallel bellow. This is kind of a reservoir in which the air comes inside and remains buoyant but pressurized, so we can eventually get that air up to the pipes themselves. On the right-hand side, there you see this very kind of complex-looking schismatic image of a wind chest that comes all the way down to a single key. Now, the reality is, on both of our organs, we have many keys, many pedals that are operated to play the music. But here, this schismatic shows you how one single key is connected via a system of what we call trackers. When I was crawling inside the Newberry organ, perhaps you saw the image of all of these little pieces of wood moving as Oziah was playing. These are the trackers that are connected to the key that eventually go way up inside the wind chest of the organ. And that is this kind of a rectangular block of wood in the image on which sits all of the pipes. Within that rectangular block, there are some various openings that can be controlled by spring-loaded pallets. We call these pallets, which are then connected via these trackers down to the key. So when one depresses the key, one pulls on the pallet and allows the pressurized air that was created from those bellows into the organ itself, and then the pipes can sing. On the far right-hand side, there's another mechanism that has an arm that kind of extends out with a knob on the end. We call this a stop. It has become kind of popularized in modern culture to stay with the phrase pulling out all of the stops. It kind of equates something very exuberant. Really, if we're going to go for the full tilt, we're going to pull out all the stops and make it the very best event that we've ever done. This comes originally from the concept of the organ. The idea that one could grab all of the stops and pull them all out and make this enormous sound from this remarkable instrument. Here you see the mechanism of a single stop that, when pulled inside, operates a kind of vertical arm that extends up to what we call a slider. And this is another horizontal piece of wood that resides right underneath the pipes of the organ. As we pull the stop, it pulls this piece of wood, this slider, that has various holes in it. And those holes will line up with the openings underneath the pipe, and then will allow the air to go through it. If we push the stop, we stop the sound, literally. It moves that hole just over by probably a centimeter, and then no longer can the air go through into the pipe. This is a mechanism that has operated inside the organ for literally hundreds and hundreds of years. This is how organs, like the one we have in the rear gallery, are made and operated today. The organ we have here at the front is the product of many centuries of organ evolution. It operates in a very similar way, but it has some differences that come to us via the advances of technology from the 19th into the 20th centuries, namely electricity. Electricity has allowed us to expand many of these mechanisms and to give us more flexibility with how we use them. This is operated here by this console. This is where the organist sits to control the pipes that reside in this large organ at the front. The organ at the back here has about 1,200 pipes. The organ at the front here has well over 4,000 pipes that reside in chambers on either side. The big difference between the front organ and the back organ is that this organ is connected and operated all mechanically. Just like this schematic shows you, all of the keys and all of the action is connected inside the heart of the organ to where the pipes sing, inside the wind chest. Up here, the console is not connected mechanically. It is connected electronically. We have keys, we have stops, we have all of the things that are very similar to this organ back here, but we do not have that mechanical linkage that takes us into the case. The great advantage of that is that via this electronic connection, we can put pipes wherever we want them. We can put them in the ceiling. We even have a set of pipes in the rear closet back there, some trumpets you'll hear in just a moment. And we can put pipes way up there, about 45 feet up in the air. And they are all connected electronically. And we can make lots of very interesting effects that you'll learn about in just a moment. The challenge here is that they are really far away. And so from an organist standpoint, playing, one has to be mindful of the directionality of the sound, and one doesn't have quite the same control at the keyboard here that one has back there. On those keys, you can feel the wind in your fingertips. And here, you feel the key, and then you hear the sound, but it's not quite the same experience. But nevertheless, this organ provides us a lot of other expressive possibilities. So, now we're going to peer inside this organ, very similarly to what you were able to see in the Newberry organ. If you'll give me just a moment, Oziah is going to come up to the console and is going to operate a few things at the console, and I'm going to make my way up inside the organ case, and you'll get to see a little bit of what it looks like up in this remarkable organ. Yes, I would really invite you to come forward. We have chairs up here, and you can enjoy it. Well, if you've ever wanted to see yourself on camera, here's your chance. Greetings. So I'm standing right now up inside the east transept gallery of the church, and before I go inside the organ, I'm going to show you a very special window that resides up here. It's right on this wall. As our pastor mentioned this past Sunday, which we observed, it was All Saints Sunday. In the Presbyterian tradition, we don't have many saints of particular note to which we pray. We are all kind of saints within the kingdom of God. But in this church, we do have one particular saint that we pay homage to, and this is the patron saint of music. This is Saint Cecilia. And in this window, you can see what she's holding. Yeah? A little organ. So that's Saint Cecilia. It's fitting that she resides right here by the organ case. So I'm going to move slowly into the depths of the organ itself. You can see this chamber here, and we have pipes everywhere. You can also see beneath the pipes themselves all of the various electrical connections that make it possible to play from the front console. I'm going to carefully step up into the organ. And you can see these very large pipes that reside here. These pipes are some of the bass pedal pipes. This is called the contrabass. And they are made of wood, and you can see the mouth of the pipe itself. Beneath it is the wind chest. And inside this long rectangular box of wood, which is sealed tightly, is pressurized air. And when a key is depressed, then the air is released into the pipe. Immediately across from these pipes are some metal pipes. Pipes are made typically of wood or metal. The metal is an alloy, often made of tin with bits of zinc and other metals in small proportion. Historically, many pipes were also made of lead, which gives the pipes themselves a very warm and rich sound. Now, if you remember those images from the front of the program, you might recognize this portion of the pipe. Here is this arm that ascends from the foot of the pipe, we call this. We use a lot of anthropomorphic terms, big term here. There are a lot of human qualities that we find within the organ. We use these terms like feet and mouth and lungs, tongues, because the organ is like a choir. It sings, just like we do on very special occasions. This wire here is used to tune the reed. By either hitting it upwards or down, we can change the pitch of this very deep pipe. This pipe is so deep and so long, it had to be mitered and turned around. It couldn't just go straight up because there just wasn't room. So pipe organ builders come up with all kinds of ways to fit pipes within an organ. Now, as I come forward, you get to have a view of two very special divisions in the organ. These are the most visible divisions that you can see from the sanctuary. Across the way is this kind of beautiful display of pipes that you see in this triangular shape. This is called the Great Division of the organ. And at the very front, you see small pipes. These would be some of the highest pipes of the organ. Oziah, could you take on the mixture pipe from the Great Division and just demonstrate a few of the sounds, maybe in a scale or some chords? Great. These are the pipes at the very front of that chest. Residing all the way in the back is a very deep bass pipe called the violone. Now, if you could grab the 16-foot violone from the grate and just play maybe a scale or two of that. Excellent. And you can see above that division then there are pipes above, and then in that void, the darkness behind it, there are a lot of other pipes. One can also see, flanking on either side of these pipes in the case itself, two heralding angels holding trumpets. These symbolize kind of angelic hosts that we find within biblical tradition. But they also are holding instruments. Angels are also seen as kind of heavenly musicians, and the organ is a kind of extension of that heavenly music. We have lots of angels in this church. Directly across from that side of the organ is where I am standing, and there is its kind of sister division. And you can see these pipes up close. Again, mixture pipes in the very front. These are very high, pipes, and then which moves towards the back of the division, these kind of deeper pipes. Beneath this division would, of course, be the winding system. And as I pull back, you can see the wind chest, and then immediately here, a reservoir. In this reservoir of air, you can see it's kind of spring-loaded, resides pressurized air. And it is this air that is used to supply air to the pipes themselves. Because this is a very large division of the organ, it has multiple divisions that go up very high, up almost 3 stories. We have wind lines, these metal wind lines that take air up to the top part of the organ. Now, for a moment, we're going to open this door and peer inside what we call the choir division. And this is literally a room within the organ. And you can see lots of pipes here. Large, small, and they are kind of arranged in this kind of rainbow of pipe heights. This is so they will correspond not only to its tuning system, but to the key action, the way we play the keys on the front organ. Now, what is unusual about this instrument, and this was a new development of the organ in the 19th and then into the 20th century. These pipes reside in this room with a door on the front. And you can see these slats here. They are kind of vertical. At the moment, you can see through them. I'll come around to the front of the division. Now, these shades, we call them, almost like a Venetian blind, play a very important role within modern organs. Now, this is the choir division, so Oziah, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to close these on the choir swell shoe. You can see by operating a pedal at the front organ, these shades were able to close. Now, while holding a chord, perhaps on a flute or some kind of pipe within the organ, I'd like you to then play the chord and then open the shoe. So close the swell box all the way. Okay, hold the chord, and then we will listen as he opens the shades. Now, can you open also the choir division? The choir division sound, and we will watch the swell shades on this side. So these remarkable features allow the organist to change the volume of pipes, even though the pipe itself has not changed its own volume. It sings always the same volume, but we can change that volume by the use of these shutters. If you peer deeply into the other side of the organ, you can see within that division also some swell shades that reside in there. Can you close the swell shades on the other side? And perhaps you can see that. This gives you a small glimpse inside the inner workings of this remarkable instrument. There are many more divisions, many more ladders, and lots of interesting things to see within an organ. But it all operates under this basic principle of air that is supplied to pipes. and we play these pipes via a console. So I'm going to mute out here just for a moment, and I will join you shortly at the front console. Now that you've seen some organ anatomy, let's talk a little bit about how we actually play and some of the things that an organist has to go through to make music on this absolutely remarkable instrument. It truly is a kind of corporate team event, organ playing. For hundreds of years, when an organist showed up to church to play a service, they couldn't just switch on the organ and just start playing. They had to wait. They had to wait for the bellows treaders to show up, who were often paid. Sometimes they were paid in wine kegs, or they were there to just in service to the church. Sometimes they were young people learning to be organ builders. If we think back to the kind of 16th and 17th century tradition, so the organist had to wait and have to petition the organ to be filled with air. And then once the organist began to play, they would typically also have an assistant next to them that would be assisting with the stops. So it would literally take upwards of a minimum of 2, maybe upwards of 5 to 6 people to make music possible on an organ. Today, with the advent of electricity, we can just turn the organ on and we can do it ourselves. But I still think often about this kind of corporate nature of the organ. It always is it's a communal event. And even in liturgical Christian traditions today that use organs, it still is that way in that we sing with the organ. The organ is used primarily as an instrument to accompany singing within this space, and it becomes this remarkable kind of union of the pipes of air within the organ and the pipes that reside within every human that sings with it. Of course, we have wonderful repertory that has been written for the organ that appears in concerts like we do here every week and in concert halls around the globe. So the organ has grown beyond its kind of religious practice and is used in many contexts today. So, how do we play the organ? You're welcome during this little demonstration, even if you want to come up closer and you can see here. In a moment, I'm going to play a piece for you to end our program, and you are really welcome to come up and just look close and see what's going on. The first thing an organist does every time almost every time they come to play the organ is we put on organ shoes. These are very similar to kind of dress shoes, but an organ shoe has a very thin sole of leather. These are not walking shoes out on the street. These are used primarily so we can have close contact with these beautifully shaped pedals that are very smooth. They are lacquered, and so by you having this very thin leather and smooth leather, we can slide the foot along the pedal. We use both the heel and the toe to engage with the pedals themselves and the way we play. So one can, in a sense, think of the feet as having 4 fingers. Right. 2 front, 2 tips, and 2 heels. So I kind of feel like Mr. Rogers here at the moment, but I'll put on my organ shoes. I should have brought a cardigan vest. Do we always use organ shoes? Well, most of the time. Occasionally we cheat. If you've been playing the organ long enough, you can get away with sometimes a dress shoe. I even have some students who have shown up to organ lessons with a pair of tennis shoes, and it's been interesting to see them use the pedals. In older traditions of music, pedaling varied among the different traditions. For instance, the art of playing with the feet was essentially developed by the German tradition. in the Renaissance and in early Baroque traditions down in Italy, Spain, England, and largely in France, they didn't use the feet at all. It was only keyboards. And they sometimes had very small pedals that would be hooked down from the keyboard itself in the bottom octave, and they could just maybe hold 1 or 2 notes. That was it. The Germans, though, their remarkable engineering, for some reason, they wanted to play music with their feet. And they developed this whole tradition of not only playing everything with your fingers, but everything they did with the fingers they wanted to do down here. So at this organ, again, we see many of the similar things that we have at the back organ. We have lots of stops, many stops, with many different names and all different kinds of stories behind every one. And then we have 4 different keyboards here and pedal. So we would describe this organ as having 5 divisions. And those were those different kind of geographical places within the organ. We have the choir division over here, part of the pedal, the solo division, which is this upper keyboard. The swell division is over here, along with the great division. And then, of course, the choir division here is on this side. They have different names that come from different traditions throughout the history of the organ. There are German terms, French terms, Spanish, Italian terms. It's because the organ really represents a kind of evolution through European practice over the last 600 years. And today, in the kind of melting pot of the United States, all of these traditions are brought together in a very eclectic way. So in this instrument, I can draw on all of these various traditions. Now, you can see also beneath the keyboard a whole series of numbered buttons. These buttons we refer to as pistons, and these allow us, again, via the advent of electricity, to control the movement of stops. As in the Newberry organ, all of those stops are controlled mechanically. Up here, we can control the stops. We can pull them mechanically by hand, but we can also set combinations of stops via these pistons. And I can create vast changes of sound like a modern orchestra that can go from the softest soft to the fullest and loudest loud, all via these pistons. They are numbered so we can write in our music when and where to hit these via these different pistons. Beneath here are more buttons and more levers next to the pedals. We also have these kind of vertical looking swell shoes. We call it the shoe. It's basically just a slanted pedal, like you'd find almost like in a car, like a gas pedal. And by depressing it forward, we open those shutters, as we saw in the video footage that Oziah did for us. These, in addition to all of these pistons, give us immense expressive control of the organ, which you will hear now in the piece of music I'm going to play for you. In 1921, a French organist by the name of Marcel Dupré, he was kind of the leading pedagogue and organist in the city of Paris, Paris, France. Taught many students, he's kind of my grandfather through various teachers. My teacher at the Peabody Institute in Baltimore, Donald Sutherland, studied with Arthur Poyster, who was a student of Marcel Dupré. Dupré was organist of a very famous church there entitled Saint-Sulpice. If you ever go to Paris, it's an organ to see. It's original, in its original form from 1860. Absolutely remarkable organ with 5 different keyboards and pedal, one of the largest organs of its time. Marcel Dupré was internationally recognized and came to the United States often for various concert tours. And he played a concert in 1921 in Philadelphia on the Wanamaker organ. This is an amazing organ. It resides in a department store. It's no longer in a church. It's an enormous organ. It's one of the largest organs in the United States. The organ had just been installed about 15 years prior, and he did this concert in which he improvised this whole scene, this whole enormous piece of music called the Symphonie Passion, the Passion Symphony. Yes, you have your hand raised. The largest organ? It's in a department store in Philadelphia, and it's called the Wanamaker organ. Wanamaker. That was the original owner of the department store. I believe it's now run by Macy's, right? Yeah. But Macy's is still taking care of it, and they use the organ. It's in a very large hall in the middle of the store, so you can be shopping for shoes and perfume and listen to organ music. And it's played regularly, so if you're ever in Philadelphia, you must go hear it. Yes, you've been there.
I've been there often, but if you go the first weekend of June every year, it's Wanamaker Organ Day. It's a whole Saturday, whole weekend actually, devoted to nothing but the organ. It's an experience to be in the middle of the department store while an organ is playing and people are shopping, as you said.
Yeah. It's a remarkable thing. And also in terms of the history of the organ, its original roots go back to kind of secular origins in Greek and Roman times. So it was not a Christian instrument at all.
It's a part of Philadelphia history.
Yeah.
It's been played twice daily since the store opened in 1906, I think it was. It's just been played daily, twice daily.
And it has, I believe, 6 or 7 keyboards and pedal. There was a famous story of there was an organist early on of rather short in stature who had difficulty reaching the top of the organ and even the stops. And so she used a rolled up newspaper to kind of hit the stops at the top of the organ. So, yeah, when I was a young boy, I have a picture there. I was 8, standing next to this huge console. I believe our other associate director of music, Michael Peters, has been there also as well. So it's a very famous organ. I'll show you a picture of it when the concert's over here, of the keyboards, and Marcel Dupré. So in 1921, he improvised this piece. He was extremely inspired by this instrument. You will hear then all of kind of the modern technology evident in this music as it begins very soft, very deep, and it builds to just the largest crescendo in organ repertory about. If the sound gets too loud for you, because I know you're quite close, you're welcome to move back through the sanctuary as you listen. You're even welcome to come up and observe what's taking place here. It's your chance to do that if you've ever wanted to see close. The work is entitled Resurrection. When we think about resurrection, it's a kind of regenerative process. It's a process that begins in the stillness, perhaps, in a seed buried deep within the earth. And through effort and toil and struggle, it grows, it regenerates, and life is renewed again. And that, to me, is just pictured so beautifully in this piece of music. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, memory 24, if you don't mind. prank on a friend of mine that came in a while ago.
It was your kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the